So what if our entire system of democracy, the one we rely on every day, is running on obsolete infrastructure? Today we're going to dive into a blueprint for a fundamental technological upgrade for how humanity governs itself. It's based on this project called the United Nations of the Earth. It is a really radical idea, so let's just get right into it.
And to kick things off, let's just start with this statement, right from the source material. I mean, wow, it's a bold claim, right? But it really sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. This idea that maybe, just maybe, the whole age of rulers is over, and an age of true self-governance, powered by new tech, is actually possible. Okay, so let's get into the weeds. The core problem, as this proposal sees it, is that our current model of democracy is basically stuck in the past. It's built on systems and assumptions from a world that didn't have the internet or cryptography or real-time data. The source material really puts this question to us directly. It kind of challenges us to think about our voting systems the same way we'd think about any other piece of technology. I mean, think about it. If your phone was from the 18th century, you would have upgraded it by now, right? So the question it asks is, why are we still running society on an operating system that's just as old?
And here are the specific flaws that this system points out. Our votes are infrequent. Sometimes you only get a say every 4 years. The whole process can be really opaque and indirect. We're relying on representatives who may or may not actually reflect what the public wants. And maybe most importantly, these systems are super difficult to audit and can be pretty easy to manipulate, which, creates a real crisis of legitimacy.
So, all right, if the old system is broken, what's the alternative? Well, this proposal introduces this huge conceptual shift, moving away from the idea of rulers and moving toward a new role they call stewards.
So, what exactly is a steward? It's not a leader or a politician like we think of them. A steward is defined as an operator. Could be a person, could even be a system, whose only job is to execute what the public has verifiably decided. No spin, no personal agenda, just execution. This comparison really gets to the heart of the idea. A ruler, well, they decide things and require your trust. A steward just executes outcomes and requires mathematical proof. The analogy they use is a compiler versus a king. A king makes up the rules, right? A compiler, it just runs the code that's been written. The steward is the compiler. Their job is to run the code the people have written, not to write it themselves.
And this right here is the fundamental principle. In this new system, power isn't something that's granted through an election every few years. It's something that is verified continuously through a transparent and auditable system. The argument goes that if your legitimacy can't be cryptographically proven, it just doesn't exist.
Now, all of this sounds pretty fascinating in theory, but how on earth could it actually work in practice? And that brings us to Section 3, the technology of trust. This is where we look at the actual infrastructure that can make this whole system of verifiable governance a reality.
This quote just nails it. Instead of asking us to put our trust in politicians or in institutions, this model asks us to trust cryptography. It's about building a system where the process itself is so transparent and so secure that human trust becomes kind of secondary to mathematical certainty. So, how does the voting actually work? Well, the key features are all right here. It's identity-backed, so you know it's one person, one vote. But, and this is cool, it preserves privacy using tech like zero-knowledge proofs, which basically lets you prove something is true without revealing all the secret data behind it. Every decision is cryptographically signed, it's publicly auditable, and it cannot be changed once it's recorded. The most crucial point is this: votes aren't just counted anymore, they are provable.
A decision that doesn't get executed is really just political theater. This slide shows how a vote actually becomes reality. So a proposal gets approved, which creates a machine-readable mandate. That mandate then gets assigned to a steward, and every single step of the execution is tracked publicly. Any deviation from what was voted on is flagged and recorded instantly.
Of course, we have to ask about AI's role in all of this, right? The source material is super clear here. AI is an assistant. It is not a ruler. Its job is to provide clarity, by summarizing super complex proposals or modeling the potential impacts of a decision. But it never, ever holds authority. The final decision always rests with humans.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. What does all this look like at a global scale? Section 4 explores that long-term vision of a coordinated planet, moving beyond the theory and into what it would actually mean to implement a system like this. I love this quote because it points to such a fascinating end goal. It's not about creating more political drama or excitement. It's about creating a system of governance that is so reliable, so efficient, and so transparent that it just becomes a background utility,
You know, like the plumbing or electricity in your house. It's just there and it works.
But, this isn't presented as some perfect utopia. The project is very upfront about the massive hurdles. How do you deal with digital inequality across the globe? How do you secure a system this big from attack? And maybe the hardest one of all, how do you convince billions of people to adopt a totally new model and move away from centuries of tradition? These are all very real, open problems that are being actively worked on.
The proposed path forward isn't a revolution. It's a gradual, voluntary evolution. The strategy kicks off with small experiments, then it moves to local and regional pilots, and it's all based on people choosing to opt in. The idea is that legitimacy will just slowly shift to the new system as it proves itself to be more effective and more trustworthy than the old one.
So, where does all of this lead? We've looked at the problem, the proposed solution, the technology behind it, and the grand vision. And now, we're left with a pretty fundamental choice about the kind of future we want to build.
And really, this captures the core vision perfectly. It's such a simple but profound shift in thinking. The goal isn't to find better rulers to manage us from the top down. The goal is to build the tools for all of humanity to coordinate itself from the bottom up. And so we end with the one question that this entire project really poses to all of us. Right now, we have systems that give us the symbol of democracy, but they often lack that mathematical proof. The technology, it seems, now exists to build systems that are truly verifiable. So the only question left is, do we have the collective will to actually do it? What do you think?